Hi, welcome back to the Event House channel, your home for all things hospitality. I'm your host, Jill Goldfine. This is part 2 of our series about our hospitality industry returning to the workforce. You don't want to miss this series, so be sure to subscribe, like, and share our channel. It's great to see our industry bouncing back from such a difficult year. Jobs are becoming available and people want to work. So how do we match you up? We're going to give you some tools to do just that. Today, you'll hear from Carrissa Henry about her inspiring story in hospitality and lots of tips on crafting a resume that will get you noticed. I hope you'll find her story inspiring and her tips really helpful. So, let's get started. Please join me in welcoming Carrissa Henry. Well, hi. Thank you so much for joining me. It is nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me. It's so great to meet you as well.
Thank you. Well, so Carrissa, I would love to start with a little bit of your hospitality background.
Well, my career in hospitality started a while ago, I think over a decade ago. And I started as a server and bartender at a JW Marriott in Indiana. I was part of the opening team, so it was pretty exciting for me. In my
Yeah.
younger 20s, I thought it was just like, whoa. So from there, I helped open another hotel in Indiana and just continued to love the industry, especially being in the event side. Worked my way up through management. I helped also open a autograph Marriott in California, and I ended up at Stanford University's catering department at the Grad School of Business. 3 hotel openings, a restaurant launch in between, a lot of rewriting catering programs, standards, procedures, developing with teams, seeing everything from operations to sales, really getting just my hands dirty with it. And then also being able to mingle with the clients and meet a lot of amazing people in the industry. So, yeah, pretty dynamic background and just
It
what's a lot
sure
of hard
is. Wow,
work.
you
Mhm.
had some you sort of fell into one, dominoes, and you don't know where you're going to end up in the next couple of years, but boy, did you have a good ride, I guess up until the pandemic, right?
Exactly. Yes. The pandemic was a whole new obstacle. You think you've seen it all, especially in hospitality because we're so used to obstacles and being problem solvers.
So tell me, how your time off and your some of your training led you to employment, various aspects of employment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that just having amazing leadership throughout my career, it really kept me open and it kept me very involved in development and not sitting idly. I know that there are some companies out there that they're getting on the training ride, but they're not necessarily doing it as intensely and aggressively as a opening hotel. So being involved in 3 openings, catering relaunches, restaurant launches, that kind of forces the wheel where you're consistently always developing and training.
Mhm.
So I just jumped onto making my own portfolio and really revamping my resume. I think I redid it, oh gosh, like 5 to 10 times just
Oh my.
to really like hone in on my design skills. Cause
Yeah.
when you are a director of catering, you're designing menus and you run with it. So I got very distracted. Um, but I was always really involved on Facebook as well in different groups and seeing what was going on with them. So I went ahead and posted what I had done on my own portfolio on Facebook, which my portfolio encompassed my work experience, different projects that I had done with social media campaigns, email campaigns, community involvement. I started doing community involvement as a supervisor and when I was living in Indiana still. So community involvement was always very important to me. So I definitely dedicated like a whole page just to that. And it just kind of blew up from there. So it was very organic that I wanted to share it and offer my services. Of course, the Facebook group was perfect to post on. But yeah, so from there, just a lot of people reached out and the feedback's been great. And I've actually learned so much from so many people on even just what I'm doing in my own profession now of being freelancing. So it's been great.
Mhm.
I have spread my wings to doing more than just resume writing, just so that um, I can kind of stay relevant in the industry and what people are really needing. So I'll even help with business proposals. I have a main client that I will help with line and developmental writing, and help him with making workplace trainings as well. I would say the good thing about running a business like I am, it is virtual. So I'm not dealing with overhead.
Yes.
And, I'm able to connect from home with people all over the world.
Yes, you're
So
not limited to geography either. Like in your
yeah,
hometown, you can meet with clients anywhere.
exactly. And you should, when you are starting your own small business, because I've talked to a lot of clients who are from the hospitality industry and they are doing either freelancing or consulting or doing something completely different, similar to me. Even though we say hospitality, there's travel agents, there's, partnership directors, there's directors of catering, there's hotels, and then there's also B&Bs. So there's a lot of different branches. So definitely with each resume, I tried to put a personal touch on it and do as much research as needed. So
Mhm.
it's not kind of, the one and done.
Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely about connecting and really showing the value of why you're there to help.
Well, if you can give us um, a little bit of bullet points on what you do for your clients, then I'd love to open it up to our audience to email with some business name suggestions. That would be so fun to hear.
I would love
Why
that.
not consider? You never know, right?
Yeah.
This hospitality industry is so creative.
Mhm.
So you never know who might come up with something that really just tickles you.
Yes, absolutely. I love that idea. Thank you. All right. Well, I am so excited to give some tips and tricks to the
Yes,
resume
please. And
writing.
that will help people start thinking about how they can name your business too to see some kind of overlying title.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
I think that one of the first trends that is a big one would be ATS, doing an ATS friendly resume. So those are basically tracking systems that a lot of companies now use, and the resumes ran through that. So they pre-program it with key phrases, keywords that will basically sift through all the resumes, especially now. You'll find that there might be a position and it's only been open for a couple days, but it already has 500 applicants. So, yeah, these major companies are definitely now using ATS. There was only about, I'd say 30 to 40% of companies were using those by like 2019. Now
Mm,
I'm sure it's probably over 50% just because of the market. So to make sure that your resume is going to go through and not have any issues, I would say to upload Word. And if not, then PDF would be fine as well.
okay.
Also, don't use any fonts that are the serif fonts. So serif fonts are like Times New Roman, where they have the cute little curls on top of T's
Yes.
and all that, use plain, clear fonts. Calibri or Arial are the best, because if you do use like a serif font, it's going to get a little bit jumbled when it's going through that ATS. And again, it's not to say that all are. If you're maybe replying to an ad that is looking like a smaller company, maybe it's one that's local or something like that, I don't think that they're going to be using an ATS system because, of course, any system that a company uses, as we all know, it costs money. So
Mhm.
always think about that, like who is the audience? Is this a major company? They're probably using one. um, so another one would be not to use a lot of symbols and emojis when you're doing your lists and when you're naming kind of like your core skills. Some people like to put the cool symbols that go with it. Just make it simple and use either dash marks or the normal bullets that Word would do, because those will stay clean. The ATS are not going to be able to read those symbols that you use.
Okay.
One more note with that that's super easy is just don't embed anything into the footer or the header. Just leave it on the body of the document.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like links, you mean like hot links to
So you know how
or
you double tap and you open the header? Just don't type anything into
oh.
the header. Don't use the header, don't use the footer. Just leave
Oh,
everything
I
on
see.
the body of the document.
Okay. Yep, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Hmm.
Yeah. So another hot topic is ageism. So I know that, ageism, of course, when you're young, you can experience ageism. Even when you're older, you can experience it. So it's not to say that this is only for one group, but I would say right now, the majority of the ageism felt is from I'd say 45 plus age group. And that's it's considerable right now, especially with the pandemic happening, that it is a fear. It's, am I going to be chosen over someone who has like 5 years of experience? Do they look more energetic than me? So those are, good questions. And so I would say the advice that I have for that is kind of the same advice actually that I would give anyone doing like your standard resume, would be keep it to 15 to 20 years for your actual work experience, 15 if you can. I know that sometimes you may have been with a company for a good amount of time and it goes up to 20 years. That's okay. Don't cut off that experience if you've been with the company a long time. Another one would be keep your resume to 2 pages. And I would say 3 is okay if you have a lot of awards and accolades, if you have a lot of community involvement, maybe you have a very dynamic background where maybe you hopped from real estate to property management, then to hotels. I think that's great to show a dynamic, rich background like that, especially if it has a lot of growth. Then it's okay if it goes to 3 pages. Just really make it worth it. And if you're worried, if you're like, oh my gosh, it just falls off the page, widen the margins as much as you can, meaning don't keep the font standard, like bring it all the way to the most narrow that you can go with the margins. I do that for almost like all of the resumes that I do. It's okay. It's going to go through the ATS and it's still going to be legible. What it looks like to you is what it will look like. Another thing would be to highlight other attributes, like maybe you have military service or volunteer service. I think that really makes you look like an amazing community leader,
Yes.
someone who can definitely help and have that mindset of what's needed to be a good problem solver and be solution focused. Um, I think it shows a lot of patience. I think that when you add those type of attributes and various things that you've done, I just think that it really shows a dynamic leader to a hiring manager, and you should always try and add that. Not try, just do it.
Yes.
Is my advice. Add it for sure. Um, for and this is just a little tidbit that instead of doing acronyms, spell them out first, and then you can continue going with the acronyms. And speaking of length, definitely don't write paragraphs under your work experience. Keep it bullets. And I know that especially with when you're to the executive level, your bullets may take like 2 lines sometimes, but you need to really make that worth it too. I would say I'm there to listen to my clients and I give them an hour up to sometimes 3 hours of a consultation call to gather all of this information, not just about their career, but about their personality, about their lifestyle, so that these things can really just be put onto a 1 pager that gets them the interview. And then I know after that, they will fly with it. But it's, how do you even get the call? Even though you think a resume would be so easy to do, if you're in an industry where it is just very much about interpersonal communication skills, and that's how you go by, then a resume is just kind of a piece of paper that no one really like thinks about. So I just hope that people see that it's okay, just go through with these few technical tips and you will be quite fine.
Now
Mhm.
they can make it much better thanks to you, to these tips. And certainly I will have your email on the screen here for people to reach out to you personally.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very happy to help anyone who is needing assistance with doing this.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Carissa. It has
My
been
pleasure.
great to talk to you, and I'm so thrilled that we could meet and under these uplifting circumstances.
Yeah, me too. I'm so happy to have been here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you to Carissa for sharing your story and so many helpful tips. Next week, we'll have a video with Jeremy Nichols on how to nail a great interview. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on that release. We'd love to hear your story about returning to work. Let us know in the comments below.